This is North Hudson Public Works meeting. First item on the agenda is call to order.
Trustee Spanifer?
Here.
Chairman Head?
Here.
Trustee Pike?
Here.
Second item on the agenda, approval of the minutes from the September 15th, 2015 Public Works meeting.
I move that we approve the minutes from September 15, 2015 Public Works meeting.
I will second. Item number 3, any discussions about the meeting minutes? Corrections, additions? Hearing none, approved. Item number 3, 2015 capital project Lakeview Drive, Pine Street, East Bank, Lemon Street project update.
All right, I guess I'll step in. So basically what we're down to is paving and restoration.
Down to what?
Asphalt paving and restoration.
Okay.
We ended up having to, there was a discussion about we had a soft spot on Lakeview Drive on the north side. We gave it some time to try to heal up. Didn't seem like it was making any progress, so we actually just went in and dug that material out and put good stuff in. Did talk to Travis at Total today, and the latest is Monarch is going to be in on Thursday. They have to kind of fine tune everything up since it's been sitting for a little while. And right now they're talking about paving on Friday. I know there's a potential for some rain on Friday, so we'll have to see how that plays out.
I think it's about 90%.
Yeah, from what I seen, it was
Same.
quite a bit. Yep. I know they have been working on Saturdays, so, potentially they'll be in here on Saturday. If that doesn't happen, then I'm assuming it'll be in on Monday.
So the fix on the soft spot, is it within the scope of work, or is that?
They have not come back to me if they're gonna ask for any additional money for that or not. They're pretty small, isolated areas. If there are some dollars that are involved, it's not gonna be that much. So I would, if everything plays out, Total's on board, once they get their asphalt down, they'll be in to do the restoration. Lakeview Drive, they've started to put some black dirt down behind where the asphalt is now. So we're basically just in a holding pattern until Monarch gets in place.
So then Pine Street needs paving.
Yep, got the first layer down, so then we have to put the surface course on.
Lakeview's done?
Lakeview has just up the gravel for now, so we have 2 layers to put down on that
Gotcha.
stretch.
So
And
then
then
when do we do Lakeview?
Lakeview, the discussion is they were gonna put both layers down at kind of the same day or the next day.
Okay.
Yep, they were gonna, do that all at once. And then we still have, the Lemon Street, they've been in and pulverized that stretch. So, just a matter of shaping it
Proud
up.
of yourself, aren't you?
You got it.
So all said and done, when are we finished with this?
If everything plays all right, I think by end of next week, we'll be in good shape.
Done and done.
Then Mark and I will have to go through and do kind of a final walkthrough. We'll generate a punch list, and that'll be turned over to the contractor, and then whatever we
Will
come
that
with.
include the restoration?
Yeah, it's,
The curbside?
Yeah, whatever there, if there's some valves that, curb stands that need to be adjusted, whatever, that'll be put on the punch list, and then they'll have to get that done. And then from there, we'll work towards finalizing all the quantities, and then we'll put the final special assessment report together to get everything closed out.
so is there one more pay request then after the one we're gonna discuss tonight?
Yeah, there'll be at least one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Budget-wise, how we doing?
Budget-wise, I think we're at or under. My gut is saying we're under, but
No complaints? I haven't heard anything.
couple concerns on Lakeview Drive I've heard. I know Mark's been notified. They're just kind of wondering when paving's gonna take place and getting restoration done and stuff. That was last week I seen something come through. They're getting anxious.
So to Ted's point, it was not a complaint though about a specific piece of work. They were just.
No, this
The schedule.
scheduling, yep,
Yep.
get everything wrapped up.
And we thought mid-October we were gonna be done with this originally.
Deadline was 31st.
31st is the dead.
So like I said, if everything plays out, we'll be right in there. So.
Nothing else?
That's it for the update.
All right. Perfect. It's been a long summer, spring, summer, and fall, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so item B, which dovetails right into it, is the pay request, the second pay request. And, let's see if I printed it out. I did, but I don't have it with me.
I have it online if you would like to look at it.
I would.
Or else you can pass them down.
Oh, the second pay request is $170,729.72. Thank you. So since it is a budget item,
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the pay request and recommend to the village board that this be approved.
do we have a second?
The pay request with the 5%, is that what we're talking about, retaining 5%?
Correct.
Second.
All right, spending item, roll call vote?
Yes.
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 All right, so moved. That'll go to the November, or actually, I don't, yeah, it'll go to the November board. Yeah, okay. Item number 4, skid loader.
Basically, well, what it is, every 2 years, we have an exchange rate with the, with value implement. I don't have an issue statement for it because we table this. Are gonna be tabling it, because basically, value implements numbers came in a little higher than what I figured they should be for the skid loader exchange. We also kind of had a Tri-State Bobcat also supplied us a quote on what it would cost to exchange our New Holland for a Bobcat. Their numbers came in quite a bit higher than what
Like how
we
much?
initially figured. Well, it was, the trade-in value that they gave us was not even close to what we figured the machine is worth, what amount of hours on it. So at this time, I'm just gonna table this until I get better numbers.
So then it's gonna move probably into
No,
2016.
no, it's still something we're gonna try to get through this year.
So we've got 2 months.
Yeah.
We have budget meeting in 2 days.
And this is already in the 2015 budget,
Okay.
so this is,
As long as they come in with the right numbers.
as long as they come out with the right numbers.
When will we know this?
I'm hoping to know by the end of this week.
All right. Anything else, Mark?
That's it for that.
Item number 5, Cratley Lift Station repairs, discussion, possible recommendation. I do have this one.
So do I.
Basically, that lift station, as the issue state said, was initially constructed back in 2006. This is part of the Ridges project. The station basically sat for about 4 years before it actually came online in 2010. And that time it was only used to take care of the restrooms up at the Chief Janice Memorial Park. Bathhouse was the only thing flowing to it. Since then, we've had 4 additional houses come onto it. Since we've been getting the additional flows, we've been having more and more problems with this. I've had Kevin out there, he went out there, looked at the lift station with me. Basically talking, even Kevin agreed we should have somebody come in. Tri-State Pump is our normal person that works on our lift stations. We sent them the information over, they came in a couple weeks ago, actually looked at the station, and started identifying problems that we have with the lift station and what recommendations they would have for changes, including the large controller inside the box. The display is extremely poor. At halftime, you can only read half the screen. They recommended changing it out for a different type unit. That means we'll have to do some work inside the cabinet to make that fit. They also found out the transducer should be replaced. They recommend a larger heater be placed in it. The heater that's currently in has not been working, so we've had a heater that we picked up, put in the panel. And they also say that they believe there has to be some relays done to the backup float system to make the station work the way it's supposed to be working.
Do I understand this correctly, that all that goes to that lift station are the restrooms at Chief Jansen Park and 4 residences?
At this time, but as Derek's continue building in the Ridges subdivision, both Phase 2 area they're building now, and when they build the rest of the ridges going around what's now Chief Jansen Memorial Park, all the flow from those residences will go to this lift station.
Well, where do they go now?
They go to the lift station, but
Well, there's more than 4 residences
no,
there.
that's all that's in Phase 2 right now.
Oh, this is Phase 2 only?
It's Phase 2 only. And when Phase 3 comes in, everything going into Phase 3 will also flow to this lift station.
Okay.
And then anything in the future, if we would have to annex out farther out Cratley would also.
Who put it in initially? Derek?
Derek, it was Derek's engineering firm that actually recommended the contractor to stick in. Derek paid for the lift station, Derek did everything else, but it only had, I believe it was a 2-year warranty when initially was put on.
It seems amazing that there's been virtually no volume ever gone through that lift station, and
It's
we're looking at an
broke.
$8,000
Right,
repair.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Right, how many other lift stations do we have that are, I don't know, I live up in that area, I guess on Phase 1.
There is no other lift stations in the Ridges except this one. Everything else can gravity feed. Your place, everything else
So
gravity feeds.
I guess
down.
my question is, it's put in '06. Then, I don't know, when did the park go in? 3-4 years ago?
It says it started in 10.
Yeah.
Right,
Saying it's.
and we had 4 houses to it and it's broke.
Problem-
To me, that doesn't seem typical.
The only way the tri-state pump can actually figure out what happened to it is that sometime during that, when that thing was sitting there, the only thing I figured there must have been condensation that got into the panel and the relays, something like that, and basically it's not working the way it's supposed to be working.
So what's happening now to those 4 homes?
Basically, we're going up there and every day, whoever's on call on weekends or else, we actually go up there and manually run the station. But it's even getting harder to do that because with the display control panel out, we cannot actually tell what the settings are on the pumps.
So does this
basically-
tie into the complaints that we were having earlier about smell and any correlation at all? No? All right.
Those complaints we're having there was for smelly water, and then basically that was, we've already met with those 2 residents, even though, no, actually that's a totally different issue. It's more or less an internal problem within their houses.
Okay.
So,
How much do we typically pay to put in a lift station?
They can be 100 grand, 100,000 for a whole station.
Do we know how much we paid for this one?
I would venture it's gonna be pretty close
Close
to
to
that.
that?
Yeah, that's usually what those go for
Because
nowadays.
by the end, then you have the force main that runs down Cratley and everything else that went with this. You know,
Yeah.
Have we had to do repairs on, like this on any of our other lift stations?
we've had to do updates on basically, Cedar's been updated since I've been here. We actually put a whole brand new controls panel up above Cedar Lift Station, because it used to be
Yeah,
everything.
but from time of installation to when you had to do that, right? I mean,
But you have to
I don't,
remember,
I'm kind of amazed it's,
one thing is usually when lift stations come online, they're coming online right away. This one
sad, right, get
sat a
it.
long period of time.
Yeah.
Well, bottom lining it, I mean, we can all be frustrated about this situation, and I certainly am. But it does not look like we have an alternative. We cannot operate with a lift station to which residences have their effluent go, and it doesn't work. So, I mean, I'm not seeing an alternative to repairing it.
There's no recourse with the people that put this in.
No. Actually, from what I was told, through Tri-State Pump, they've been working on quite a few of these lift stations that were done by this company. This company that put this one in is no longer doing sanitary sewer lift stations.
Well, that's good. Shoot.
Reminds me of Volkswagen or something.
Yeah. Well,
All right, well, there's a motion.
One other thing, I'll bring the attention on this. I met with the village administrator on this, and since there is $40,000 in our 201 fund, and so we have enough funds in there to cover this, she informed me that this will not require board action if you guys approve this, so I can actually have them out here working on this
That's
station.
the reason that we have the fund, yeah.
Yeah, so.
So you do have a motion, I'll second the motion.
Actually, I don't.
I recommend having Tri-State Pump and Control
thought you
repair
had
Cratley Lift Station at a cost not to exceed $8,000, with the cost of repairs coming out of the 2001 Sanitary Sewer Maintenance Fund.
Second.
Since it is a budget item, we need a roll call vote.
Aye.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. This does not need to go to the board. All right, thanks, Mark. Item number 6, municipal garage lease.
Okay. I have met with Gary Zappa regarding the lease. Basically what, and again, there's no issue statement this time because it's basically discussion only. Gary informed me that he is willing to extend the contract month to month until we come up with a lease. Hopefully be done by the end of the year. And then basically right now, he agreed that the village should have the property appraised, and Gloria is working on that, getting somebody in to have it appraised. So that's where we kind of sit on that right now.
Month to month at no additional cost.
No, it'll be at the same rate we are paying
Yeah,
right as
okay.
of right now.
So then the action would be to get it appraised
Correct.
and bring it back then to this committee, discussion, recommendation to full board. if we
And
wanted
once
to.
it's appraised, and they also, and once we have the appraisal and that stuff, this committee looks at it, basically, Gary said that, then that will also give Gary, I said he will look at the number, and if he agrees with it, that'll be the number that'll go into the lease agreement as, for.
Has an appraisal been ordered? Have we selected an appraiser?
Gloria is working on it right now, trying to find one. She's dealing with looking at a couple different companies to have that done.
Okay, I'll give her a call offline. We just want to make sure that we use an experienced commercial appraiser.
Yeah, that's what she's looking
not a-
for.
not a
is because-
residential
Yeah,
appraiser.
that's what she's looking for.
I can
She's-
give her a couple of suggested names.
Yeah, I guess she's told me there's a company in River Falls, company in Richmond, company over in Eau Claire. Unless you know some other ones, so give her a call.
So then are we retroactive? Right, so we get the appraisal. We've been paying on the lease for I don't know how many years now. There was apparently a clause in there that said we had, right, essentially the right to own, if I recall. So then we get the appraisal, it's X amount. Do we then back into that, or is it going forward?
I guess that, once we get the numbers and everything else, that's when we'll sit down with,
Well, the appraisal would be at a moment in time, and we've not ever tried to negotiate a purchase price prior, so I guess I see that as a moot point. Now we're considering doing that, so the appraisal that we would have now would be, as of now, we would consider negotiating a purchase price.
Right, but I'm saying in the lease agreement, right, my understanding is we had the right to purchase at some point prior to today.
Right.
but
So
neither,
this-
but neither party never ever
But
set a
that
number
would-
in there.
That would not be a static number that would be good for the next 10 years. Here's a number, if you buy this anytime in the next 10 years, here's the number.
It sounded like, to me, when reading that it,
At the expiration of that
right,
lease.
he was gonna give us a number. Was supposed to the first time after 5 years,
That's my point.
yes. So he is.
So do we retroact back 5? Probably not,
I don't see.
because we didn't do it
No,
then.
we didn't do it.
Right,
I mean, we should have known that too.
Right.
So,
yeah. Yeah, okay. So then, you're gonna give Gloria a call, give her some recommendations.
I'll just give
on
her some names.
commercial.
She can make the decision, but I just want to make sure that we're using an experienced commercial appraiser that's
Right.
done this kind of work before.
Okay. And we'll continue on, and then towards the end of the year, we'll either make a decision to purchase the property or continue the lease program.
Well, purchase is gonna have to go before the board, right?
Right.
That's what I said. I'm not gonna speak for, what Gary's thinking. All that the best to do would be have another meeting with Gary once we get the numbers and discuss what it's gonna be, if it's gonna be another short-term lease and then the purchase, or, that's something that has to be negotiated. Now that we've gone through this many different leases, I don't think you can just,
How many leases have we gone through now? How many?
I believe this would be the third 5-year lease.
So we're going on year 11.
Yeah.
Anything else on that item? No. Okay. Item number 7, purchase of the pre-salt system from the good city of Hudson. Discussion and possible recommendation.
This initially came out of the meeting that Chairman Head and I had with the city of Hudson regarding when we were talking about snow plowing. And they informed us that they had this piece of equipment they were using for a couple of years, but then basically it was too small of a system for them. They started getting the larger de-icing equipment on the back of their trucks. And basically told us that they would be interested in selling to the village if the village was interested in the purchase. There was a couple things discussions that we had, number one, they had to get out of storage. Another thing we had initially, as of last month, we were not sure if the city of Hudson would have to put this out for a bid type thing, but then apparently their financial officer went and looked it up, and since it's one municipality selling to another, they are not required to put it out for outside bids. So they are offering it to the village. Initially, they purchased this, they believe it's about 3 years back, but they're not exactly sure. They're still looking for the booklets and everything else for it. And they said it was a little over $6,000 when they purchased it new at that time. Looking up at the information on everything else, what I could find and what the city found, it looks like that newer units now are going for, right around the $8,000 range. We did go up, take a look at it. It does look like it's, it's in good shape. It appears to be in good working condition. I think I can see it being an asset, not, just for the de-icing system behind the truck. This would actually fit either on one of the 1-tons or the 550. You can do both lane spray and everything else for roadways. It also has a reel system for spraying sidewalks, stuff like that, for de-icing sidewalks or pre-salting them.
Any negotiation within the price?
Right now, this is the number they gave me and everything else. That's why I did the issue statement like this, so I didn't have to put anything for the village board on it. I figured I would see where you guys sit on it and go from there. But I would like to, if we are going to try to purchase it, try to move it onto the board agenda. But I can go back and say in that,
So, personally, I think it's a great idea from a safety perspective, right? 2, I think it's going to save us on the cost of salt. At least that's what we had discussed. 3, I would like to know what they're going to charge us for the de-icing liquid, right? And then 4, they don't even know what they paid for it, right?
Or when.
Or when. They don't have booklets. It's
See-
as is, right? If there's something wrong, you're gonna have to fix it. So I'd suggest go back and ask them if we can get it for $1,000 cheaper than
Well, I was
we're
about,
asking.
frankly, I was about to say, if they paid X for it and they've had it for several years, I think that we ought to offer them 50%,
Yeah.
which would be $1,000 less, interestingly enough. Offer them $3,000 and call it a day. The question I've got for you, Mark, is if this is installed on one of the vehicles, does that compromise the use of that vehicle during the winter for any other purpose?
No, the system is on, actually, it's on a pallet. So basically, if we have to, we can actually take a set of forks and remove it if we have to.
Okay,
What I was planning on doing with this is most likely put it on that 550, what we have,
all right.
on the contractor's body. If we stick it on that, then if it's easier, we could actually pick it off with forks very easily from either the rear or from the sides. You know, it can come off that truck, and it'll probably come off very, fast if we have to turn that truck around for hauling snow or hauling salt. or
Yeah, that's what I
something like
meant.
that.
If we had it in the bed of a truck
Yep.
all winter long, we couldn't use that truck for
Yeah.
anything else.
And it is on a skid system, so you
Right.
can slide it off.
So then I think,
Well, Mr. President, or Mr. Chairman, I would move to recommend purchasing the pre-salt anti-icing system from the city of Hudson at an offered price of $3,000.
do we have a second?
I guess I'd still like to know when the thing was bought. I mean, if the thing's 10 years old and you can buy a new one for 8,
Well, they're saying to me that they know it's less than 3 years that they've had it. They just can't find all the information packet on it. That's what they're looking for, is the
the
invoice.
thing's gotta have some kind of serial numbers on it that say when it's bought though, right? Or
The only
manufactured.
tag I seen on it or anything else, it had Monroe Snow Equipment, and that's probably who they purchased through, was Monroe Truck Utilities, but or Monroe Truck Bodies. But I did not actually see anything with a brand name there or a number on it.
So what are you telling us? The serial numbers have been scratched off? Is that what's happening over there in Hudson?
And do we need to know how much it's gonna cost to fill
Kidding.
the thing?
Yeah.
I mean, the
That's-
cost of the filling the thing, we're not even sure what that is.
Right. I can't, well, I don't know.
I'm
Yeah,
guessing
they
the
can't
bo-
be.
the board's
When we
not-
talked about, so we went, midsummer, I think it was, and
Yeah.
talked to them, and, I mean, they were pretty amenable to
And they still,
basically have.
they
a piece of
basically showed us
equipment
the
that-
system, and it was a 225 gallon tank. And basically, even talking to Tom, he did not, it didn't seem like that was that big of an issue to them for how much we're.
Well, we can get that
But-
detail before
Yeah.
the village board next
Yep.
month, but I think we need to move this
Okay.
forward so it's on the board agenda, at
Yep.
which point the final decision will be made.
Second.
All right. It's not a spending item, so we don't need a roll call. All in favor? Yes.
Aye, yes.
Perfect. So to go to the board. Thanks, Mark. Mailbox replacement.
How many mailboxes have we replaced in any given time frame? Let's say in the last 3 years, how many mailboxes have we replaced? Under the current $50 reimbursement?
Under the current reimbursement and everything else, basically, we've done a lot of repairs of mailboxes. I want to say we probably average 2 or 3 a year, but the problem is now is we're running into the more expensive, fancier mailboxes that people have sitting out there. And
And is the repair caused by snow flying into it, or is it
if it says
physically-
right in our
physically
policy,
hitting it?
no, the only ones we do is the ones that we actually find that are physically hit by a snowplow.
Okay,
Is it a-
then I guess the obvious question is why have we got snowplows hitting mailboxes?
Well, sometimes, Darrell, it just happens.
No, but I mean, the mailbox is sitting back here. I'm trying to see how does it hit it?
No, because basically in places that you have, it can be anywhere from an ice ridge that'll actually, if you're riding along the curb, if the plow starts bending over too far, it'll actually fold itself farther into the curb than if it's standing up. Like if you hit
Oh,
ice or
okay,
something like
all
that,
right.
then you'll hit the mailbox. I've
Okay.
hit them, basically anybody with snowplows hit the mailbox.
All right.
Yeah, and there's, especially in places where you got the mountable curbs, it's real easy if you don't even feel those curbs, and also next thing you know, you're up on the edge of the curb.
So did this come up to the committee as a complaint?
Basically, we have one resident whose mailbox got hit late spring, or I should say, late in the snow removal season last year. I went up and looked at it, everything else, then started looking at what, replacement costs on this, and when, some of it basically got pushed back on our agenda for a while, with all the stuff we had going on. And basically, he doesn't know, it's an very expensive style, it's up in the ridges, and basically, he believes that the village, since the village contractor hit it, the village should pay to replace the post and everything else. Well, you start looking at just the post alone on that style mailbox is almost $200. And to me, I myself, and maybe the committee feels differently, but an average mailbox and everything else, we price them else, you're looking between $85 and $90 for, this regular mailbox, wooden, people have sitting on their thing. You got a lot of fancy mailboxes sitting in this village now. And that's, to
My
me,
wife wants me to get one, I know this. And they're not cheap.
Okay, I got it. Yeah, a couple issues. One, it's one resident out of 3,800. Right, two,
but my biggest thing is I would like to see something in place, so when this, the last mailbox policy thing, like it says on the, was done quite a few years ago, and I think it'd be best just to have a little upgraded number and just say, people, this is it, this is the most we're gonna
what's wrong
pay.
with the 1997 number?
Well, I guess this issue doesn't rise to the level of crisis for me. I don't have a problem with the 50. If we raise it $35, that doesn't seem out of line either. But it still wouldn't do anything to address the guy that wants a $200 post replaced. He's still not gonna get his post replaced, so it doesn't address that anyway.
Right, on the one hand, if we're knocking over mailboxes, we should be replacing them, right? If it happens in my house,
I'm coming up here looking for a replacement.
my expectation is you knock over my mailbox, you're replacing my mailbox. This wasn't my cause,
You take out my post, I'm gonna be looking for the post too.
yeah. But,
Yeah, I don't know if
And you get
either,
approved.
either one of you ever lived out in the county?
out in the
Lived out in the
county,
township?
Been a long time.
in Oklahoma I did,
Yeah, they don't
care.
replace them.
Gone. Well,
Your mailbox is in there right away. Just like in the village.
So I don't think it's gonna break the village if we go up to $100 per mailbox replacement. 97 was a few, I was trying to think what was I doing in 97?
That was my first year here.
I moved out here in
I think I
'95.
was still in college, I don't know. It's a long time ago.
My mailbox is
It was prior to the first war, so I know I wasn't overseas anymore.
Or if you guys want me to stay with the 97 policy.
No, it needs to be, we need to get with the times here. I don't have a problem with it going up to $100. Although I could tell you right now, I'm coming in and asking for full value if you're not gonna mine over.
Well, the policy says we
I'm
gotta pay.
only gonna get 100.
Policy says
I'm
we
gonna
pay
get taxed on it.
Yeah.
So, I will make the recommendation that the maximum of 100 be adopted for replacing mailboxes damaged directly by the village or village contractor's snow removal equipment.
And it's just the mailbox in that statement, right?
Says mailbox / post.
Oh, it does say slash post? The motion doesn't.
No. Sorry.
You want to add slash post to that, sir?
So I will amend it with /post.
I'll make the changes too. I think that was just the post was just included into it, but.
Now the only thing remaining is a second, so we can move on. Or we don't vote on it, and that's fine as well. And we stick with 1997 policies.
Mr. Chairman, I will second the motion so that we can vote on it.
Thank you.
Does this go before the board?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that should be
All
interesting.
in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Darrell.
I think we're both not sure on that one.
Well, I mean, come on. Right, it could say full replacement, not to see $500, and all of a sudden we got every cotton
Your
picking
snow
mailbox in
removal
the
budget.
neighborhood being knocked over.
Your snow removal budget is gonna go up.
But, you know, he's saying it's 2 or 3 a year.
Right.
Still, you're looking at $1,500.
All right, item number 9, my favorite, and I missed the last board meeting, unfortunately. So, winter parking ordinance discussion, possible recommendations. And I can only imagine where this went, and I've already got a response formulated, but let's hear it.
The consensus from the board is they wanted us to look at this.
Okay,
So it's back here for us to
look at.
look at it, to consider tightening up the ordinance and making it more enforceable. So there you are.
So,
And they suggested we run it by the Public Safety Committee,
Yes.
why?
because they would have to
They
enforce
have,
it.
because the
All
chief
right.
would have to enforce it.
So,
I think we should just pass it to the Public Safety Committee.
no.
No, because if we do that, it's gonna die right there.
Yep.
I can tell you that.
So, let me role play. Let me role play.
We're not
How are we
kidding.
gonna enforce this?
Yeah.
Right? It's right where it went to for Mr. Zappa. Right? So Mark, if you're listening or if you can watch, how do we enforce the current regulations on speeding? Right? We have officers in town that pull people over if they're speeding. It's the same enforcement action. Right? You give a couple tickets and guess what? People are gonna start moving their cars. We're gonna get the streets done faster. It's gonna be better service for the community or for the village, for the municipality, and we're gonna save money doing it. What's the issue here?
We need-
I'm not putting it to public safety. I'm telling you right now, I won't do it as chair.
Well, in all seriousness, I do think they ought to weigh in on
Yeah,
this.
they should have an input.
And that really came, the chief was here at the last time, and, you know, I can argue both ways on this one. And I think what I said is I would prefer that people are smart enough that if it snows, they get their cars out of the way. I mean, there ought to be some level of human intelligence to be able to do that. And if they don't, and if we have an ordinance that says we're gonna do some things, then I looked at the chief and I said, then we're putting the burden on you, and we have an ordinance, you have to enforce it.
Yep.
And if we enforce it, then we're gonna have people coming to complain down here. I mean, so all of the above.
What's your point?
My point is, we better be prepared for the consequences and
Okay.
know them in advance before we do this. And I'm not saying that I wouldn't be in favor of doing it. I tend not to like a lot of rules and regulations.
Agreed.
But I am persuaded that in the big picture, it would be a cost-saving measure for the village. It would make snow plowing much more efficient. I mean, I don't have any problem with any of that. I'm just saying there are consequences that will come. We just need to be prepared in advance to know what they are.
And how are we going to determine those consequences?
The ordinance.
Well, frankly, I think they're predictable.
Right, exactly. This isn't rocket science. Some people are gonna get irritated that they've been issued a citation, they're gonna try to fight it, right?
Well,
But
it depends
sooner or
on-
later,
It depends
it's,
on the ordinance, though. The first time they put a warning note out there. The second time they charge them like $10. The third time they get towed. I mean, that's the way Hudson.
Well, that's what it is right now, isn't it? And that what we do right now?
Well, no, right now, there's just, all there is there's a 24-hour parking ordinance in effect.
right, you gotta move it 6 inches or something like that, and
Yeah.
you're good, Right.
It's kind of
right? So we don't like overburdensome ordinances, right, or regulations, but we've got some pretty silly ones on the books now that I've tried to get rid of that, to no avail, right? This one seems to make sense to me. So we're not, we're trying to save money for the village. Right? It's not like the state's giving us more money year over year. We're trying to make things better for the village. If Mr. Zappa doesn't like it, or if Chief of Police has got concerns about it, my response would be, how do we enforce current ordinance?
Yeah, in Chief's defense, he was not giving us any pushback. He was agreeing,
No,
yes.
and I believe he probably wouldn't, knowing Mark.
He just wants to be able to, before we
Right.
adopt an order, he wants to
Right.
he'd be able to discuss the issues that he has with it so
Yeah,
that, you know.
we seem to enforce parking
But-
ordinances down by
But
the,
if we're going to have a snow removal ordinance, the car needs to be removed. I have a little trouble with an ordinance that says, you know, we're gonna give you a warning, or we're gonna do something, and then, you know, 2 days later, the car is still there, and then we tow it. Well, but at that point, it kind of misses getting the car gone so we can plow the street.
until the next snow event comes. And then I guarantee you, they're not gonna park there again for fear of being towed and have to pay that fee.
Mark, are there places in the village where a person right now parks on the street because they don't have an alternative? That's the only place they can park?
Well, currently, there's some places in Village that, yeah, because of their rental buildings
Right.
or else their driveways are, you know. But I'd say, and there is something I even said in my initial first statement, there will have to be some exceptions. Even the city of Hudson has accepted street set because of residential, multifamily parking issues. And I can see Lemon Street, one's blocking Lemon Street to be that way. I can see, you know, possibly Fifth Street. But the biggest thing is if you would, there's a number of residences in the village that basically, during the wintertime, we see it all the time. They don't park in their driveways on purpose and park in the
Right.
street. And,
So you don't plow them in.
Right. And on the exceptions, if we've dealt with it by odd even, it gives them an opportunity
Right.
to move their car.
Right, it's not like we're telling them they can't park on the street.
Right.
the only
Just saying
problem
you
with,
can't
the only
park on one
problem that
side or
I've,
the other.
the ones I've talked to, because I know, well, I've talked to some other public works people, you know, one thing, like, they actually, most of them recommended me is stay away from the odd even. Because it is so confusing to residents, because they figure if they come home and they park their vehicle on a certain time, you know, and then they leave it there for a couple days or something like that, it's, you know, it's just, like they said, they found out more headaches come from the odd even. Like most of them I've talked to, I know City of North St. Paul, basically they've, in the City of Hudson, a lot of them are going to what they call the 2-inch snow removal code. If you know there's gonna be a 2-inch snowfall, your vehicle should not be on the street. Period. There's also time limits. They recommend putting like 4 o'clock in the morning to 7 in the morning. Make sure the streets are clear so the plows can be out there.
So I can tell you it does not work very well for St. Paul.
Yeah.
But not even? No, I've talked to
I
some
don't know
people.
if anything works for St. Paul.
No, but I'm not just talking to them. I'm talking to other municipalities even around here that are
So
not even things.
I personally, again, it's like 1997, right? It's time to make an upgrade here. If it's gonna save money, why wouldn't we do it? If I can save you, you know, $1,000 a year, Daryl, by telling you you gotta move your car one way or the other, are you gonna do it, or are you gonna go, no, I don't need that $1,000? We're not printing money here at the village. So if it's gonna save time and money, which you told me it would, I don't understand why we wouldn't take a swing at it.
What would the exceptions be for some of the places that you just referenced? What would we say? It's okay to park
No.
in that area because you don't have an alternative, or what would the exception be?
That is something I'm gonna have to look more into, what other municipalities use for an exception. My biggest thing is I'd like to kind of get a ballpark of what we're looking at for an ordinance. Are we gonna have a timeline ordinance? Are we gonna have, you know, are we gonna have the odd even? Are we gonna have no parking when there's 2 inches? We're gonna have a combination of both?
What's Hudson do?
Well, the thing is, most people that have an alternative probably are already parking their vehicle in their garage or someplace. And the
I
people
would
that are in the
disagree with that.
multifamily that can't, we're saying, we're gonna have an exception and here's a place where we've got a problem because the cars are on the street, but we're gonna let you park them on the street anyway.
Well, but I think it's gonna have to be a proof, they're gonna have to come in and prove why they need an exception. Even in some of those rental places I discussed, a lot of them park on the street just because it's easier, so they don't have their cars parked behind one another. So that when one of them goes to work in the morning earlier than the other one doesn't have to go back his car out and let the other one out the driveway or whatever. Now, I think the people are just, they're gonna have to think about how they range their cars when they go home at night.
So, with the same thought process, I could put a few chairs out in front of my driveway to prevent the snowplow from coming by and plowing me in.
No, the chairs get covered up.
So, Mark, what I would like is have a look at what's Hudson doing, what's New Richmond doing, what's River Falls doing, right? Like communities.
We have that. That was given to
Yeah,
us.
we've got that information.
I was just trying to find it online here.
I got extra sheets here if you people need them.
I can make a decision, really. I can do eeny, meeny, miny, moe, and come up with something here.
We'll pick one.
It's really not that
I mean,
difficult.
right now, we've got a lot of alternatives that are in front of us. This is like making
There's
sausage, kind of.
There's eight, nine of them here.
Yeah.
Different ways to look at it.
Mark, what would be your suggestion? You gotta deal with it.
My feeling, everything else, I'd like to see no parking on any village streets, 3 AM to 7 AM, November 1st to March 31st. And then any time, with the little clause, also says any time after 2 or more inches of snowfall. That'd be my recommendation.
No
That's
parking
basic.
at all? Or no parking when there's 2 inches or more?
No parking at all between 3 and 7 AM.
Between March,
Between November to March?
Yep.
No parking
so
on the streets?
you wanna do a,
3 and 7 AM,
Whether there's snow or not?
correct.
I think that's a little restrictive. We're trying to save money by the snow plowing thing, right?
Yeah.
So why no parking if there's not snow?
Because if people are sleeping and everything else in the middle of the night, and we have to go out plowing a 6-inch snowfall, their vehicles are nowhere near display. That's the reason why other communities have done that.
Oh, gotcha.
so between November 1, yeah,
March
I'm liking
31st.
this.
So basically North
We're
St. Paul.
definitely floating
That's
this.
the one you're looking at?
What?
The North St. Paul one?
Well, basically, it's
Almost all of them.
similar to North St. Paul, and it's also similar to what the Somerset has, except Somerset actually has, there's no parking on village
All
streets.
right, Ellsworth, Baldwin, Hammond. So you're saying 3 to 7 AM, November 1st,
March 31st.
March 31st. No parking on any streets, cul-de-sacs included?
Yep.
Regardless of a snowfall event.
And then no parking anytime there's 2 or more inches of, or anytime after 2-inch or 2 or more inch snowfall.
What
Just
were
like, just like what it says in Somerset.
And the reason between those 3 and 7 is if the snow is gonna start falling, people aren't gonna get up, move their vehicles,
Correct.
blah, blah, blah.
That's usually when, during the night time is usually when we are,
You go up 3 AM to 7 AM basically?
right now, normally we plow at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
If we would move forward with the proposed ordinance, would we have a public hearing?
Correct. That's pretty much what was discussed at the board meeting, was to have public input.
Yeah.
First, get the public safety's input, and then get,
Yeah.
All right, so what would be option number 2?
And-
That's option 1. What would be your second? People are gonna complain.
yeah,
Are you kidding me? Yep,
Change.
just like you can't shoot projectiles in the village. Yeah, I'm not gonna let it go.
No, you're not.
No, 'cause it's ridiculous.
but you like some of them, there's some in here, parking is prohibited, period, you know. November 1st to March 31st, going from 2 to 6.
Well, I would suggest that we not have alternatives. I would suggest that we say, this is what we recommend as the proposed ordinance. Here it is, and take it to public hearing, rather than say, here's option one, here's option two. I don't think it ought to be a smorgasbord. If we're gonna move in this direction, let's make a decision and say, here it is, and then move forward and
You don't like
Get public
options,
input.
Daryl?
I think the board's gonna want the option, so, before the public hearing, they're gonna
Well,
want to.
they can amend, but
Yep.
I think we ought to say, here is our recommended option.
I think I agree with Daryl. There should be a recommendation from this committee, and if the board wants to change it, the board changes it at the board level.
They won't toss it back to us?
They can, but if we tell them, well, that's our recommendation, they toss it back to us, we've already made our
For more
recommendation.
options?
We can call for a vote on it.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's just that simple.
sure,
Yeah.
all
We
right.
can call for a vote and see where it lands.
All right.
But my question is it too restrictive
Because of the no parking, whether there's.
at all, regardless?
Oh, at all?
Well, that's where the proposal is 3 to 7 a.m., November 1st to March 31st. If you're parked on the street, right, you could be ticketed.
And it would be, would,
That's what we're saying.
That's what we're saying.
That's what we're, just so we're clear, right? Doesn't matter if it's as dry as, Texas in a midsummer day or not. No precipitation. It would be at the discretion.
Okay, we have adjacent municipalities that are doing exactly that now. Do we have any data on their experience?
That is one thing that we have not, until I was actually more, and even the chief said he would like to have kind of an idea what our ordinance is gonna be, so he can actually contact other police chiefs and see how they're.
Right.
So here's what I would suggest, before we bring it to the board. Right, we can put it on the board agenda as discussion, right?
Yeah.
We don't have to vote on it,
Right?
to say, here's what we're gonna recommend. And then we can see Mark's eyes rolling. Zappa, sorry, Mark, I love you. And then we can ask for some surrounding community, how's this working for you guys? It's not working, it's working. Yeah, there was a little bit of pain the first winter, but, or no, we went with, it's better to put a 2-inch snow event in there.
And even if you want, what we could do is we could, okay, how about we do this? Let's go down the list, okay, actually, you guys looked over. Why don't you guys, ones that are similar to what we got right now is like Somerset, right? And we all know it's North St. Paul, and then we'll contact Hudson. How many else you want us to contact? You want some information for River Falls on their odd and even? I don't think you want me to cover, or do you want me to contact?
If we're
all?
not gonna propose odd or even, I'd say no, right?
So right now, I guess you guys tell me which ones you want me to contact, and I'll contact them for their
So-
input, and
I would say that Somerset has this 4:30 to 7 after 2 or more inches snowfall. I would contact them. Now, I don't know if they got, November 1 to March 31st.
they don't, because theirs basically is year-round, 4:30 to 7.
Well,
Kevin,
Hammond
you're-
and Osceola both say no parking from this calendar date to this calendar date. I mean, it's not the same one, but it's the same point. So I guess that's what we would want to know. In a municipality that says no parking from this date to this date, how is that working for you? I guess that's what we'd want to know.
And the other thing, Mark, I would like to know is what would be the anticipated decrease in man hours, right? So if we do this, normally after 2 inches, it takes you 6 hours to clear the village. Now it's gonna take you half that time, right? And what does that equate into man hours? And then from a spending perspective, this is what we're saving. Right, so if you average 6 snow events a year, you're gonna save 20 to 24 hours of man hours at an average price of X, Y, and Z.
Well, to try and put a ribbon on this thing, I would agree that if we take this to the board for discussion, we would have fulfilled what the board said they wanted us to do. We've looked at the issue. Here's what we believe ought to be the recommendation that we take to a public hearing. How do you feel about that at this point? Are you in support of this recommendation, or do you want to weigh in with something different? And then bring it back there for discussion. And at that point, the board could say, yes, this is good, we concur with your recommendation, or we want to change it.
But not forcing the
Yeah,
issue,
yeah.
because we don't have all the information right now.
And the biggest thing is, and I've had residents come up, talk to me and everything else, and they said, well, is this something that's gonna be started this year? And I told them I've already told them it's probably very unlikely that this ordinance is gonna go in effect during this snow season. Because by the time you get the signage that has to go up
Yeah.
on village limits and everything else, by the time that happens, you know, this
Yep.
is not something that, myself, I'd rather take some time and make sure it is a
No, I
little more
agree.
talked about than it
Yep.
is putting something out there real quick and it's not gonna
Yep.
work. It's
No,
not
I
gonna
agree.
fly.
Completely agree.
So,
Yeah.
you know, this is nothing, because I have people come to me, well, why did you guys start talking about this last year? And I told them, well, it was something that was talked about in past years, and the village board decided not to do it at that time. But then
And
after,
then Ted Head goes to talk to Hudson.
then
and
all I tell them is
it's
after.
like, hey, this makes sense to me. We're saving money.
We can call this Ted's
God
ordinance.
God forbid we should want to save the village money.
Ted's ordinance.
I told them it just came up in a discussion and it was decided to be relooked at, but I
I
can,
knew
you know,
Zappa would have just.
But Hudson saved money.
all of them
without-
save money.
Without the, yeah, it sounded significant with the city of Hudson. And they didn't put a date timestamp on it.
Right.
Just the 2 inch or more.
Yep. Yep.
Seems to me that'd be less headache.
I would agree. It's going to be a little more palatable for the residents to go, okay, that makes sense. If it's going to snow 2 inches,
Wait a
I
minute.
need.
I don't
I
disagree with.
measured, it was only 1.9 inches of snow.
All right, so then we'll give a variance of plus or minus 5%. I don't know.
I agree
Okay,
with,
let's move it forward to
Yeah,
the discussion at the board level.
for.
Yep. Doesn't require a
We're
vote.
looking at this option. We're
Yep.
going to talk to some surrounding communities,
Yep,
see how it goes.
good.
And then it'll be kicked down the road a few more times. At that point, Stan probably takes me off the chair position because I'm creating too many issues.
Now, I think it actually has to get done because,
Well,
it's costing the village a lot of money to have us going back plowing streets.
so then you need to voice this with Zappa and others that may look and go, this is nonsense. Right?
Let's take it there and have the discussion.
Yep.
Yep.
All right.
All right.
Thanks, Mark. And my assessment was correct, even though I wasn't here. Number 10, engineers report.
Nothing additional for this month. Pretty
Number 11, director's report.
Only thing I have is, if you haven't noticed, the 6th Street manhole has been repaired and patched today.
Or was patched today, so.
Okay.
Good.
Future agenda items, so we're gonna, obviously, the snow
Snow
ordinance.
removal ordinance.
Anything else, Mark?
The skid steer trade.
Skid steer. Trying to find my agenda.
Anything else?
Yep.
All right. Item number 13, we are adjourned at approximately 7 PM. Thank you.
Thank you.